Victoria, where Josh Frydenberg is speaking.
But also to deliver on a promise, because last Friday, the evening before the election, I was asked to come and speak to the members around the bar and spoke to them about the election ahead and took some questions. And I said if I was lucky enough to be re-elected and the government re-elected, then I would come and shout the bar. Well, here I am to deliver on that promise. But obviously we had some very good news in Kooyong, and I'm really pleased with the result. But we've also had good news nationally, and Prime Minister Scott Morrison has spoken about that last night. There's still a lot of votes still to be counted, but we are looking forward to forming government. Clearly, this election means a lot to a lot of people, and yesterday I recounted the story of coming across as a woman, Margaret, as I was going around the booths, who was 88 years of age. She was there with her mother, and her mother explained that she only had remarkably just a couple of weeks to live, and she'd been in hospital earlier that day, but she had missed the opportunity to cast her vote in hospital, and she'd asked her mother to take her to a booth so that she could cast her vote, so that Josh Frydenberg did not lose by just one vote, because she would never have forgiven herself. Well, I didn't lose by one vote, and I'm so grateful that Margaret and Liz came out to vote for me. But that just shows you how much this election means to people. Now that I've been re-elected by the people of Kooyong, I'll continue to work hard for them, as well as working hard at a national level with Scott Morrison as Prime Minister. It's been a hard-fought campaign, and I want to take this opportunity to also acknowledge the other candidates in the race here in Kooyong, particularly Julian Burnside and Jana Stewart, who came second and third, and thank them for the positive way that they conducted their campaign. But it's great to be here in Kooyong, and thank you all for joining us.
Mr. Frydenberg, Scott Morrison has a cabinet to pick now. Who would you like to sit alongside in that cabinet room?
Well, they're not questions for us to answer today, and indeed the Prime Minister will be making those decisions obviously in due course. But we're very fortunate that we've got some really strong talent in our ranks. Of course, existing members who have been re-elected, but also we've got a number of new people coming in, including just my neighbour in Higgins, Dr. Katie Allen, someone who brings immense experience in the medical profession to the table.
Higgins and Kooyong, the Liberal Party has retained both seats, but with significant swings against them. What do you think happened?
Well, look, in Kooyong, it was a very hard-fought contest that was effectively four ways. You had a traditional rival, the Labor Party, but you also had a really well-resourced Greens campaign. At the same time, you had an independent who was trying to take votes off me and to take votes of Liberals, but again he was preferencing Labor and the Greens. So it was a four-corner contest. It was very competitive, and obviously the result is there for everyone to see. In Higgins, it seemed to be one between the Liberals, the Greens and Labor, and I'm really pleased to see Katie Allen have that strong result.
The predictions of a stronger Labor result here in Victoria didn't come to pass. What do you think Labor got wrong? What did they misjudge?
Oh, look, that post-mortem is for them. Certainly they were expecting to win more seats in Victoria than they did, and they're probably basing that assessment on the analogy with the state election. Well, we know that state elections and federal elections are quite different, but clearly there are really important issues here in Victoria that need to be addressed, including busting the congestion that we see in our suburbs, in our cities, with Melbourne growing by 2,000 people per week. And we made a number of significant infrastructure announcements, including on the border of Kooyong and Higgins, with the decision to take that Kooyong station on Glenfair Road underground, particularly given that that level crossing underground, particularly given that has been identified as a priority project for Vic Roads.
Just on those issues of congestion and Victoria particularly, East-West Link.
Yeah.
The Premier this morning said, he's got no plans for it, and he's the one state doesn't build the roads. How is that going to work? I mean, how does the $4 billion that you've committed, what happens to that money if the Victorian state government says no?
Well, it won't be delivered until the state government says yes. And we are saying to Daniel Andrews, this is a critical infrastructure project for Victoria. Some 100,000 commuters would use that road every day in just a few years' time. We know to build the east-west link would bypass 23 sets of traffic lights. It would bust congestion by 30%. It would take a 27-minute trip down to just 7 minutes, and clearly it will be good for the flow of traffic through Melbourne. Now, Victoria notoriously has paid over $1 billion not to build the road. Now, that was very, very unfortunate and very, very costly. We have taken this policy of building the east-west link to now 3 elections, 2013, 2016 and 2019. It's been identified by Infrastructure Victoria and Infrastructure Australia as a priority project. So I'd say to Daniel Andrews, explain why this is not a priority for you, given it is a priority for the people of Melbourne.
Well, he says logic, that's the 2018 state election results. So now that they've been returned and you've been returned, is there going to be a constructive path forward from your side and from the state? Are you hoping to break this tit for tat on East West?
Well, it's about delivering for our communities. It's not about Liberal v Labor. And we would welcome the opportunity to sit down with Daniel Andrews and discuss how we can progress the East-West link. This is a vitally important project for the people of Melbourne. Now, Daniel Andrews has made it clear it's not a priority project for him. So we've said we don't expect 1 cent from the Victorian government. We'll put down $4 billion of federal money to make this project a reality. And as you know, Richard, we've funded and we are funding significant road and rail projects here in Victoria, including putting $5 billion aside for the airport rail link, where we have partnered successfully with the Victorian government. The Melbourne to Geelong fast rail, which will halve the travel times between Melbourne and Geelong, will again be a partnership with the Victorian government. So we work best when federal and state governments put politics aside and come together on important infrastructure projects, and the East-West link is one important infrastructure project.
Will Parliament sit before?
We're absolutely committed to it.
Will Parliament sit before June 30 to get your tax cuts through?
Well, obviously that is our priority piece of legislation, to provide the tax cuts for more than 13 million Australians, as outlined in the budget. And we will see up to $1,080 into the pockets of Australians earning up to $126,000 in just a matter of weeks' time. So if you're a couple, each earning $60,000, a teacher and a tradie, you'll be $2,160 better off as a result of the tax relief provided by the Morrison government. So we want to bring Parliament together. The Labor Party have already said they'll support that legislation, so it will have bipartisan support. So let's get this legislation passed so that the Australian people get their tax cuts.
When do you expect the party to next meet, and will it be in Canberra?
Well, again, that will be a decision for the Prime Minister. We've still got some votes to count, some seats that still need to be determined. But obviously, that will be something that the Prime Minister will make a decision on in due course.
Did you ever believe the polling that suggested Labor could win 6 seats here?
Well, look, in Victoria, we always knew it was tight, and I know we've got fantastic local members. I mean, look at the great result that Jason Wood in Latrobe has had. Look at what Michael Suker in Deakin has had. It's obviously sad to see Chris Cruther behind in Dunkley, and at the same time, my good friend Sarah Henderson in Corangamite. Again, both Dunkley and Corangamite are notionally in Labor seats after the redistribution. But no, there is no better local member than Sarah Henderson. She's been an outstanding local member who's fought so hard for her community and delivered so much for her community. Now, that's still in the balance. We haven't conceded that seat. There's still plenty of postal votes to be counted, but Sarah Henderson's been an outstanding member, and if she's not returned, I think that will be a sad day for not just the Liberal Party, but a sad day for the people of Victoria, because she's been such an outstanding member.
Did you believe the polling?
Oh, sorry, in terms of the polling, in terms of Victoria, our polling showed that it was going to be tight. So we thought all along that a number of these seats would be in the balance. And of course, in Chisholm, counting goes on today. Nationally, we knew that when the starter's gun for the election was called, we were behind. But at the same time, we were in this race. And no one believed it more than Prime Minister Scott Morrison, who's shown enormous energy, conviction and belief as he's travelled around the country promoting our economic message. And I've really enjoyed working as his deputy. We've worked hand in glove together to promote the government's economic narrative. But the Prime Minister, he has spoken to the aspirations of all Australians. Aspirations which include owning your own home, raising a family, running a business, saving for retirement. These are the quiet Australians that Scott Morrison has talked about. This is the silent majority. These are the people who just get on with their lives and with their business. They don't join every major protest in Spring Street. They just get on with their lives. And when they went to the ballot box yesterday, they voted to support us.
Do you think it was a good idea to remove Malcolm Turnbull?
Well, as I said, I've been asked this question many, many times. My position on the leadership is well known. And I do pay credit to the achievements of Malcolm Turnbull as Prime Minister, like I pay credit to the achievements of Tony Abbott as Prime Minister. But the party room has spoken, and we are now looking to the future. And Scott Morrison has shown himself to be a fantastic leader and a fantastic Prime Minister. And he has won this election and he will now continue to be Prime Minister of Australia. Thank you.
We've been hearing there from Josh Frydenberg, Deputy Liberal Leader, member for Kooyong in Melbourne.